It's PyramKing with another guide to Legends of Barovia. This is part 2 to the Pillar of Ravenloft, a late campaign high-level adventure that actually takes place in the stone pillar, 1,000-foot stone pillar, which Castle Ravenloft sits on. This is part 2. If you have not watched part 1 yet, stop this video, go in the description, click on watching part 1 first so you get an idea of what's going on. And before we get started, huge shout out to all of my supporters making this happen. Could not be here and do this without your support. Big thank you. Also to DM Andy, who has been working on this project with me for over 2 years, making all the battle maps. And for the Pillar of Ravenloft, DM Andy has been working on the adventures, the content, the concepts, and the ideas together. It's been a really fun experience working with him. We're going to be looking at one of his gorgeous battle maps today. Can't wait to show that to you. Also, a huge shout out to Blair for all the Foundry support, making this all a reality on Foundry. If it wasn't for Blair, we would not be experiencing any of this on Foundry. Now, if you'd like to support me, you can. Donating supporters for as little as $4 a month get the access to the entire Foundry library. We go over 40 adventures here in Barovia, releasing 1 to 2 every single month, expanding on this amazing adventure there. And it's your support that allows me to bring free PDF guides to the community along with these detailed video guides. Huge thank you to you. And legendary members, you get your name in the credits of the PDF guides, the Foundry adventure modules at the end of these videos. Also access to my own work, my Legend Keeper, so you can see all the content I'm working on and early release content as well, especially with the upcoming Legends of Salt Marsh project. Huge thank you again. So let's jump into this. I want to give you a little background setting up into this. Remember, we finished part 1 of the Pillar of Ravenloft. The player characters fought the Shadow Dragon. They went through the Moon Gate, and they're here at these steps. Now, when DM Andy and I talked about developing part 2 of this adventure, we really wanted to come up with the concept of height. Remember, this is a 1,000-foot stone pillar. The character's going to be traversing up this stone pillar. And so the first part of this, we really wanted to impress upon the characters of the magnitude and the massive undertaking it is to take all your gear and hike up this stone pillar. So the first part, we're going to be dealing with some terrain, some obstacles, some environmental hazards, some areas you can rest, some exhaustion stuff, and we wanted to really impress that upon the players, and DM Andy did a fabulous job with that. And here's the beginning of those stairs here. Now, the second part of this adventure is when the players get up to the top, they're going to discover this area, but try as they might, they will not find any secret doors, any stairs, or any elevators to take them further. It's going to seem like they've run into a dead end, when actually there is a secret teleportation device. The characters are going to need to figure out how to activate it, find all the things to activate it, to turn it on, so they can teleport to the 3rd level. Now, a couple of developer notes for this area that I was really thinking about. I did not want to have a big bag boss fight. We just had one with the big Shadow Dragon in part 1. We've got some stuff in store for part 3. This one, I really wanted to be a combination of character ingenuity, problem solving, creative thinking, because the players are going to have to discover this teleportation device and how to turn it on. In addition, I just didn't want it to be a barrage of combat encounters. And so I specifically designed the combat encounters, the majority of them here, is player triggered. And what that means is if the players are cautious, safe, and think exactly about what they're doing, it is possible to go through this entire level without triggering a combat encounter, except for the very end when they turn on the transportation device. So they just got to be cautious and careful. If they're not careful, if they're poking their nose where they shouldn't be, or sticking their finger in some black hole, or poking a stick at something, well, they're going to wake up the Underdark. And that leads me to my next developer note. I really wanted the creatures at this level, which is the Abyss and the connection to the Underdark, to be completely different from what the characters would normally run into Barovia. Barovia has got the core vampires, skeletons, zombies, and werewolves. This is the Underdark. And when I was thinking about the Underdark to myself, I was thinking about a combination of H.P. Lovecraft designed by H.R. Geiger. If you're familiar with the first Alien movie, all that alien artwork and concept art was designed by an artist from Switzerland named H.R. Geiger. Really creepy, unworldly, alien-esque creatures. I could imagine him doing all the concept and artwork for some H.P. Lovecraft Underdark horror. So when I developed the look of these creatures, I wanted them not to be the typical Underdark D&D creatures, but really kind of unworldly and different. So the player characters experience this kind of really weird, macabre twist. So the character's going to be running into hooker horrors and ropers and other creatures that are from the Underdark, but they're going to look a little bit different. We've got one new creature in here as well. So we've got a little different look and feel. We've got some player creativity, some triggering, and we got some environmental effects. So let's take a look at DM Andy's map. We're going to be walking through each one of these areas. The video is timestamped down below, so you can go ahead and jump around. So let's look at this gorgeous map by DM Andy. We'll talk about it from a high level, and then we're going to go ahead and walk you through it. So here is the map that we've designed, and you can see at the beginning the players are going to be traversing up of these stairs. We've got a couple of environmental hazard. These are Monk's active tile triggers. I'll talk about them later. We get to a fork in the road here. The players can go up through a back cavern, leads through a spider cave, or they can come through the main hall. And then we get to this central area here. We've got this stone pillar, this kind of rostrum with a hole in the center of it. It just drops off into the abyss on either side. That's where the Underdark is. You go over that abyss, you are going into the Underdark. You're not coming back. It's game over for your character. Now on both sides, we've kind of have these 3 rooms on each side, 6 rooms that are connected with these stone bridges. The stone bridge to the east has decayed and fallen off. And then in the center, we have the shrine to the Shadow Fae, who is masquerading as the Night Fae. Remember, she's fooled all the elves who's become Dusk Elves that she's the Night Fae, when in reality she is the Shadow Fae. She has lured them in to help her open up the gate to the Shadow Realm, the Shadow Gates on the 3rd level. Here she's opened up into the Abyss, into the Underdark. A lot of cool stuff here. Players are going to have to navigate this and also figure out the teleportation device. You're going to notice once they get up here, there's no more stairs. They got to activate that teleportation device. So let's go ahead and walk through this, show you how everything works. We're going to be jumping between the battle map and some Theater of the Mind maps to show you how everything transpires here. So we first have the stairs here, and as we're climbing up these stairs here, the players are going to encounter these pits along the edge of the stairs, and this is the first difficulty they have. Now these pits here along the side are Monk's active tile triggers, and I put them in there to allow the characters to trigger them themselves. And the way these work is as the player goes through, if they step into this pit, all it does is it pauses the game and stops token movement. Now the way I would run these things is you don't want to have them fall down this pit into like oblivion and die. I mean, you could if you wanted to be like that. The way that I would actually run this, and I actually suggested in here, is that they're going to be running a dexterity save, DC 12, and if they fail it, they slide down the pit, maybe catch themselves on some rocks or something. They suffer 2d6 worth of damage. The player's got to figure out how to pull them up. This is really kind of a telegraphing some more environmental hazards that are to come when they take the second flight, which is just around the corner. So the players can easily avoid this. They can see, I purposely set this up so the players can see the pits. They know if their player character walks around it, everything's fine. If they step into it, the game's going to pause. And this is a visual player aid to allow the players, when you're playing online, to see where those pits are. Don't step in those pits. Otherwise, you're going to have to roll that dexterity save to find out if you're going to suffer any damage. Now, the whole concept, again, going up these stairs, is to really tire out and wear out the players. You want the player characters to feel this, to role play this, but also maybe stifle their mechanics a little bit up here. Now, the other thing that Andy and I introduced, we wanted to introduce when we got up to the first landing up here, in each of the landings, to demonstrate and telegraph the exhaustion nature of this, is for them to do an exhaustion check. Now stop. I know you're probably saying to yourself, you hate exhaustion in D&D 5e. I do too. I think it's way too taxing, way too punishing to fail at. And so in a recent interview I did for the Dungeon Coach, he's coming up with his nice DC 20 RPG game, and he's including a new exhaustion mechanic, which I really like, and I included those notes in here, and I'll show you what they are. It's pretty simple. They're going to make a Constitution save. If they fail that save, they're going to suffer 1 level exhaustion, and each level represents a -1 on any D20 roll. So really what you're doing is you're slowly representing fatigue, right? So now they have a 5% less of succeeding on any of their tasks. So exhaustion is just going to be incremental as a -1 modifier to their D20 rolls for every level of exhaustion. Now the second concept I would throw in here is when you get to these landings, this might be an opportunity for a short rest as well. If they want to go ahead and take a short rest here, it's something you may want to think about. Remember, they just got done fighting that shadow dragon at the end of level 1. This might be an area if they want to take a short rest here. They've just climbed a huge, massive flight of stairs, probably a couple of 100 feet at least. They're probably pretty tired walking along those edges of those pits. Short rest, give them the exhaustion check to see if they've suffered any exhaustion. Now, when we get to level 2, and I've got another little map here, it goes up further. They're just taking a break on here, and they're going, oh my gosh, more stairs to climb. When they're going up the next level of stairs, it's going to be a little bit different here. Remember, we telegraphed those pits before? Well, this case, the pits are right in front of them, and they're going to have to figure out how to get across them. Now, the pits are triggered the same way. If they step into the pit or over the edge, it's going to pause the game, stop token movement, and it allows you, the DM, and the players to go through this kind of encounter, figuring out how they're going to rescue the players that have slipped and fallen. Remember, I'll be running these dexterity checks based on a failure or maybe how much they fail. If they fail just by 1, maybe each point of failure represents how far they slipped down in the pit. Maybe if they failed by 3 points, they slipped down 30 feet and they have to roll 3d6 or whatever. So they're just sliding down and maybe catching themselves. Now in this one, you have 2 pits, and on the other side of that pit, oops, let's just move this character over here. There we go. On the other side is you've got these stairs in the middle, and the way that I imagine these stairs in the middle is, if you remember in Lord of the Rings, in the Mines of Moria, when they stepped on that big rock in the middle that was kind of shaking, and both of the stairs on either side had collapsed. That's what I imagine here. So any characters that land here, you're going to roll a dexterity save. If they fail that save, they're going to slide off into the pit on either end. If they succeed, they're just going to fall prone. They're going to fall prone. This whole thing's shaking up in here. And what you're really doing is it's telegraphing and demonstrating the exhaustive nature of climbing up here, the deadly nature of the environment that they're in, and giving them some beginning problem-solving things that they're going to have to do. Again, no combat encounters here. We're just wearing down those players slowly. They're going to be managing their resources to get up these steps. Now, I'm going to go through here again, and he's going to trigger the tile, and we're going to get up to the second landing, which is right here. And again, when we get to the second landing, I would probably have them, if they want to take a short rest, but also make that exhaustion check here. Now, the way you can get rid of exhaustion, the way the special exhaustion, and I mentioned it in the notes here, is on a short rest, it gets rid of 1 level of exhaustion. On a long rest, it gets rid of all levels of exhaustion. And there's some spells, too, that also get rid of exhaustion as well. You can look those up. Maybe you have a spellcaster, a cleric or something that can help get rid of that level of exhaustion. Again, this is just trying to tire out, demonstrate getting tired or the possibilities of getting tired as you're climbing these steps and the dangers of doing this. Now, the third flight of stairs is fairly interesting here because you're going to get to this fork in the road here up these steps. There's going to be a landing, and it's going to divide into this fork, and the players are going to have to decide which way they're going to want to go. So we're going to show you the proper way first. That's to the right, the safe way, and then we're going to show you the dangerous way after that. So if we go to the right, we come up these stairs, and it's just tiring here, right? They're just climbing and climbing. They're going to get to this landing, another switchback. It's going to seem, from the character's perspective, again, if you're the DM, this is what you're seeing. They're just going to go up this and this and this. But from the character's perspective, oh my gosh, the DM Andy just did a phenomenal job of these stairs. I mean, you can really see and feel going up these narrow stairs. Sometimes it widens out to it's 20 feet. Sometimes it's 10 feet or 5 feet. You know, it's just going to be exhausting going up these winding stairs. They're going to get up to this area where you've got this kind of old grand hallway and the columns have kind of collapsed here. And you can see that here. And I've got a Theater of the Mind map here for this Grand Hall. Let's bring up the Grand Hallway. Here we go. And I'll just activate that here, and you can take a look. So the Grand Hallway, I've got these columns that have kind of collapsed here. Let's just read it. I won't read through the entire description here, but I will go ahead and tell you what's going on. Grand Hall. Here we go. So it's about 20 feet wide, 20 feet high, about 80 feet long. But you see all these columns falling over, and on these columns there's some etchings in the columns. Now, if the player characters read Elvish or Abyssal or one of the other languages that these columns are written in, they'll be able to transcribe them. And what the columns actually tell the players is that there's this abyss up ahead, and it's a tether between the Underdark and the realm of mortals. There's this precarious link, a dangerous link. Sometimes people have to make metaphorical sacrifice, but sometimes literal sacrifices. It's kind of creepy in that they have to maintain a very proper vigilance in order to maintain this balance, and they have to put their faith and trust into the Night Fae. Now, you as the DM know the Night Fae is not the Night Fae. She's really a Shadow Fae, but she fooled all these elves that became Dusk Elves to build this temple to the Night Fae. They worshipped her. So you can see that there's some destruction here. These were some etchings to the Night Fae about this balance between the Underdark and the mortal realm here. And so this is the first clue, if they transcribe this, of what's going on up ahead. There's an Underdark, there's some strange balance. Now let's take a look if the players went the wrong way. So if the players went the wrong way, let's just drag our character down here. Whoop. If the players went the wrong way here, that would be to the left. They would be going up here, and let me just get that going here. Our Shadow Cave music here. They'd be going up here to the left, and all of a sudden the stone steps kind of give way to some gravel. All of a sudden there's some cobwebs here. What you can see here on DM Andy's map that's really cool is the player characters actually are stepping underneath the cobwebs. You can see that. It's really kind of cool. It adds this eerie level of this. And they are in a spider chamber, and this is going to be the first possible combat encounter if they go this way. If they don't back out and go the other way, they're definitely going to run into a combat encounter here with the Abyssal Spider. And let's talk about this combat encounter because it's a little bit different. Now, this spider here is an Abyssal Spider, which is in a giant spider stat blocks with some additional features along with the baby spiders. And so we have the spider layer here. In fact, we got a Theater of the Mind map, which we'll show you, but let's talk about it first. So upon reaching the last landing, you're going to notice the floors turn into gravels and pebbles. There's a bunch of cobwebs that blanket the halls, the dusty threads. It's really hard to kind of move your way through it. The cavern stretches ahead, and there's this kind of a dank and noxious odor in there as well. Now, the cobweb area here is both difficult terrain, speed movements by half, and lightly obscure. That means any wisdom perception checks that rely on sight are going to be at disadvantage. Now, you have this Abyssal Spider. Here she is. Nasty stat block. Let's take a look at what she looks like. This is just a really nasty Underdark creature here. Oh. Look at this thing. If you saw this thing, I mean, that definitely looks like something H.R. Geiger would design. I mean, this thing coming out of, this probably climbed up out of the Underdark. It's made its nest and lair in here, right? So this Abyssal Spider is a normal giant spider with two additional interesting features. It's got a cocoon the prey and a drain life. So what happens here is the Abyssal Spider is going to be in stealth, right? And you're going to need, remember, this is a lightly obscured area, so you're going to need to make a DC 18 perception check at disadvantage to see if you see this giant Abyssal Spider, because it's going to be up on the ceiling in stealth, moving in over you, ready to just drop in and take you guys out, right? Now, this is the dangerous part of it. It has that normal web on there. So if it shoots you with a web, it's going to really slow and incapacitate you. Remember, you're already at half speed in difficult terrain. This web is really going to slow you down. And this Abyssal Spider has a bonus action, which is called Cocoon Prey. Now the way this works is if you are webbed, if it webs you and it's going to try to cocoon you, wrap you up, you know, and if you're wrapped up, you're going to have disadvantages on any checks or saves to try to break out of this web, and any disadvantages on any types of saves or checks to avoid getting bit or drained by this spider, right? So you're in this cocoon, so it's going to be difficult for you to get out of this cocoon. Now, if it does get you cocooned, the worst thing this thing can do is it's going to bite you. It's going to be doing 1d8 plus 3 damage plus 2d8 poison damage. Then it gets a bonus attack of the life drain. Now the life drain, you got to make a DC 12 dexterity save to avoid these fangs digging deep into you and sucking 1d10 hit points. Now this is going to lower your max hit points by 1d10 level. Now you can regain these hit points after a short rest, but you're going to be lowering your max hit points down until you're able to regain these things. So it's going to get kind of a double bite attack. Imagine just kind of bites into you and then it's just, you know, putting poison into you as your cocoon, and then it's going to be sucking the life out of you. That's not all. What's really crazy is if it does cocoon you, if a creature's cocoon, the baby abyssal spiders here are going to bust out of their little eggs, up to 1d4 of them, whichever closer, and they're going to rush over to that cocooned creature and just start life draining. Now, the baby abyssal spiders, they're not a big deal. They're only 15 hit points, AC 13. They only have one attack, and that's the life drain. They're just going to, you're going to make a dexterity save. Remember, if you're cocooned, disadvantage, to suck 1d10 hit points out of you. And this kind of goes with this little bit of verisimilitude, right? The eggs of the baby spider need to feed to grow up to become a big abyssal spider. The big abyssal spider, mommy spider, is trying to wrap up some food for its babies to go feed on. So obviously, you know, it's probably wrapped something up in a cocoon. It's probably tapped one of the webs, and it's triggered some of those eggs to open up for those babies to come and feed on the cocooned creature. Now, there's another way to trigger these baby abyssal spiders. We've got a Theater of the Mind map here to show you. It's really, really creepy. Here we are. Now, this idea, obviously, I lifted this idea from the first Alien movie. So as you're moving through here, you see all these eggs, and they're kind of pulsing. There's something moving inside the eggs. If you move within 5 feet of the egg, there's a 50% chance that egg's going to pop open, and one of those baby abyssal spiders is going to launch onto you and try to life drain you. The way you're going to do this is pretty simple. I've got it all written up for you here to make your life easy. You're going to roll, if one of the creatures get 5 feet within these eggs, you're going to roll a D100. It's going to tell you right here, let me get rid of this. You got a 50% chance if the egg opens up. If it does open up, the abyssal spider jumps on you, you've got to make a dexterity 12 saving throw to avoid this thing landing on you. If it lands on you, it's going to do its 1d10 life drain, lowering your hit points down by 1d10. Now, if you manage to miss it, I'm sure it just kind of lands on the floor. It's going to be scurrying around trying to land and get on another person to life drain. So you're going to be dealing with the big mommy spider and lots of these baby abyssal spiders. Remember, this is an action economy encounter. The babies are one hits. I mean, at this level, if you're level 8, 9, or 10, these are one hit kills. But man, if you get 2 or 3 of them on you, you know, one of those is going to drain some life on you. It's just, this is one of those wear down encounters, right? You're gonna be dealing with these babies hatching, flying at you. If you get cocooned up, some are going to try to feed on you. It's really managing your resources, managing the action economy in this combat encounter. Now, the one thing that's going to happen is if you do make it through here, if your character makes it through the abyssal spider web layer, you're going to see the wall is caved in, and you're going to come back into this room here. We're going to talk about that room in just a second, but our character is actually going to start up over here where we left off in the temple entrance, coming into the main abyss, the main area, which is the Rostrum pillar. Now, this pillar area, and I'm just going to let everybody see it to make it easy. It's about 60 foot in diameter. This pillar, it's massive, and let's read about it here. I got the thing here. So you're going to come out to this pillar. We got a Theater of the Mind map for it. I'll show you as well. 60 feet in diameter. In the center, there's a approximately 10, 15 foot wide hole in the center, and this thing just drops off. So there's a hole in the center. I mean, it's dark, and this kind of like dank, cool air is coming up. You can smell it. and it's just creepy as all, right? Now, you're going to notice as you come up out of the main hall into this kind of stone plateau with this hole in the center, there's going to be a bridge to the west, a bridge to the north that goes to this temple, bridge to the west that goes to this hallway, and then the bridge to the east is kind of fallen away. The players are going to have to figure out how to get across. Each side we've got 3 rooms, and we got the shrine in the center. So we're going to do the shrine first, show you what the shrine is all about. So you come across here. Again, all these creatures are invisible. We'll talk about that later. Nothing's going to attack you. There's no attacks here yet. You're going to come over here, and you're going to see this. Let's do the Theater of the Mind map for the rostrum so you can see it here. Here we are. So the player characters will come in here. There's a big hole in the center. They're going to walk across one of these bridges. This just drops off into the abyss. You don't want to even go down. You're not coming back. If you're going off, you're going down in the abyss in the Underdark. You're gone. Now, if you cross over to this bridge to the north, right, the bridge abruptly comes to an end, and it drops down about 20 feet here. And there's some water down here in the center. There's a pillar with a cauldron on top, and on the back wall, about a 50-foot high stone relief of this female goddess. There's some old vines and ivy growing over it, some cracks in it showing you it's old. And the water is down about 25 feet down there. It's kind of swirling around and bubbling. We've got a Theater of the Mind map. Let me show you that here. And let me just show you some text here. So again, I've explained it. You got this pillar that sends about 30 feet with a cauldron on it. The stone sculpture, relief sculpture in the back, that is the Night Fae there. Now, as the players gather at the precipice, surveying the surroundings, there's a magical energy lights the cauldron, and all of a sudden, you'll see the face of the statue spring to life, and the face of the statue starts speaking to the characters. And this is what the statue says. I have it. We'll also print a script here, but you can hear her speaking to the characters. Here we go. You find yourself within the heart of the central abyss, a bridge spanning the realms of the mortal plane and the Underdark. Solely I have upheld the equilibrium between these domains. However, there exist those who harbor intentions of obliterating me and this sanctified temple. Demonstrate your worthiness in upholding this intricate balance, and you shall inherit boundless power to shield against those intent on annihilation. Place your trust in me. Take the step into the waters beneath and unite with my cause. He is the Shadow Face. I trust her. Help me. Please help. What you're hearing right now is when she's done speaking, you're hearing these anguish whispers of hundreds of lost souls that have been tormented. You hear their suffering echoing after she speaks. One of them, if you listen carefully, says, she's the Shadow Fae, don't trust her, the water burns, help me, the pain, the anguish. So you're hearing all these voices, the characters are hearing these voices when she's done. Now, this is the Shadow Fae, who, it's a sculpture of the Night Fae, and if we look at this water here that she says, jump into the water and I'll be giving you these powers, join me, keeping this balance. If the characters jump into this water, it's not going to be good. So if they, she's trying to deceive the characters to jump in the water, to sacrifice themselves. And those whispers that you heard were all the sacrifices over the centuries of probably elves being sacrificed to her here, being dropped into this water. And if a character does fall into this water or jumps in this water, they're going to suffer 8d8 acid damage. That's not water, that's acid. Every turn. It eats through their armor. It eats through bone. It eats through flesh. 8d8 damage every turn until they're fully dissolved. And if they die, I mean, they're not coming back, and their spirit will be absorbed into the statue along with the hundreds, if not thousands, of other souls in the statue. So this is, another way of the Shadow Fae, as the Night Fae, manipulating you as she trying to manipulate you as she tried to manipulate and did successfully manipulate the Dusk Elves into probably making lots of sacrifices here. So this is a creepy situation. Players need to be on their toes. She's going to try to, tempt you with some power. There's a lot of power if you jump down there. It's not going to be good. 8d8 worth of acid damage every turn until you dissolve. That's going to be nasty. Okay. The player character now is going to go, we're going to go ahead and head over on the east side first and figure out, the players are going to first have to figure out how to get across to the east side. There's a gap here, so maybe they're going to have to jump across. It's about 15 feet across. Again, if they fall, that just goes down into the abyss to the Underdark, so they don't want to fall. If they get over to the other side, they're going to notice this curved hallway. There's doors to the north. And there's doors down to the south. They're going to see some flooding in the south corridor down here. You'll see that. Let's start to the north doors up here. And we come up to the crystal room. By the way, I do have a Theater of the Mind map for that bridge. So, when if you want to run Theater of the Mind map, there's the bridge going across to the east and west areas. You can see that if you want to run a Theater of the Mind scene, you can. So here is the northern room, and this is the crystal room. And you're going to notice in this room, there's some crystals sitting on the shelf. There's some stone tablets with some writing on this. Again, we do have a Theater of the Mind map for this room as well. I'll go ahead and fire that up for you to see. And let's talk about this room. So you step in this room, and you notice this chamber serves as both a storage area for studying arcane magic, and mysteries, and it's attached to crystals. There's some crystals sitting on the floor, some green, red, indigo, blue, yellow crystals on the floor. The stones are etched with some inscriptions here, and if you look at the inscriptions, if the players look at this inscriptions and they read Abyssal, they can read this thing, and it says, "The crystal's hues in rainbow bright shall weave a tale of mystic flight. To gates embrace they shall transcend, a journey through the colors blend. Yet darker secrets they'll invoke, invert the hues shadowy cloak. From darkness to light they'll sway, unveiling realms where shadows play." This is a clue if the players are able to decipher this, what these crystals are and what order they should be in. And this is to activate the teleportation device, because it says here, gates embrace, they'll transcend. They're going to transcend through that teleportation device to the third floor. They need to weave the crystals into this mystic flight of rainbow bright. So rainbow is the key element here. There are 7 crystals here: blue, green, indigo, orange, red, violet, and yellow, colors of the rainbow. And they're going to have to put it in order when they get to the sphere in order to activate the transportation device. So you can pick up all those crystals. These are all items that the characters can pick up, all the crystals, which they will definitely need to activate in order to activate the teleportation device. Okay, the next room here on this side, if the characters come down, so this is really important. They might not know, depending on how the characters navigate this upstairs, they might not know what these crystals are for yet. They might have to come back and get them, or they'll pick them up now, or they'll translate the text. And it seems important about transcending to a shadow gate or through some rainbow light. If they go to the middle door and they open it up, they'll step in here and they'll see this giant tree. And again, this is DM Andy. We've got this really gorgeous, it's like a tree of life in here. You can walk underneath the branches here. And you'll see in the corner, I'll just move this out of the way, the walls kind of collapse and these giant roots are coming in here. Let's go ahead and read about this location here. And it's the Tree of Life and Death. And we've got a Theater of the Mind map. I'll bring that up here so you can see it. There's the Tree of Life. So they step into this chamber. There's this ancient tree growing. There's no leaves in the tree, but the characters can tell that the tree is still alive. There's some type of magical aura about the tree. the character's attention will be turned towards the corner of the room where they're going to hear this kind of creaking and crunching and crackling noise. And these giant roots are coming through the wall, and they're wrapping around. These roots are wrapping around the base of this tree, just trying to crush this tree at this point. So there's this tree there, ancient tree, some kind of tree of life growing there in the middle of the room, and it's being crushed by some foreign roots that have broken through the wall. Now, if the players get too close to this tree, again, this is one of those triggering encounters. If you just leave this room and don't screw with it, nothing happens. They're going to get attacked by this, and this is an assassin vine. I've changed again the artwork to give it a more creepier vibe and feeling. This assassin's vine is kind of roots breaking through the wall, and it's trying to strangle this tree of life. This assassin vine has probably been imbued by the Underdark, right? And it's just coming through the cracks of the rocks from the ground, from the Underdark, and strangling anything that's alive. So it doesn't really care about the characters at this point, unless the characters investigate it or get close, and then it will attack the characters. Now, should the characters kill the assassin vine and save this tree, the tree will issue a message, a warning to the players. Here, I'm going to get rid of the assassin vine here. And let's listen to that warning from the Tree of Life.
Elves, once ensnared by the deceit of the Shadow Fae, descended into an abyss of darkness. But in their depths, a glimmer of hope and nature's purity endures. Despite succumbing to despair, they granted me life, holding on to hope. My efforts to guide them from this shadow realm proved futile against her seductive nature. Now the elves are but a fading memory, leaving behind this haunted abyss. If you chance upon the Shadow Gate, it must be sealed for eternity to bring an end to this world's anguish. Should you accomplish this task, I will find peace and finally rest.
So obviously, this is the Tree of Life. You're learning a little bit about the lore, about how the elves were fooled by the Night Fae, by the Shadow Fae, believing that she was a Night Fae. And he gives you the warning about the Shadow Gate. If you find the Shadow Gate, which is on level 3, it needs to be shut down, forever. It is dangerous. This entire location is what has allowed the dark vestiges to seep into Barovia. It is connection to the Underdark. It's connections to the Shadow Realm. This is sitting right beneath Castle Ravenloft. If Strahd were to find out about this location and take advantage of what's sitting right below Castle Ravenloft, well, Barovia is doomed forever. I mean, this is serious dark stuff going on here. All right, so the player characters leave the Tree of Life if they kill, destroy. You can run the combat encounter in here. Here we go. Here's the assassin vine. If they destroy the assassin vine, save the tree gives them the message, the warning, shares to them that the elves are all but gone except for this shadowy place, and find the Shadow Gate and destroy it. If the players head down further, they're going to notice that there's some flooding here. This door is partially underwater. If they're able to bust through this door and get into this room, they're going to notice these fountains here pouring water in the room, and there's a pool beneath it. It's just overflowing. The room has completely flooded. let's read about this room. Again, we have a Theater of the Mind map here. And let's bring that up. There we go. Theater of the Mind map. So when they step into this chamber, it's flooded, and the water is tinged with this kind of weird glow. There's a fragrance, a sweet fragrance coming from the water. It's kind of almost intoxicating. On the far end of the water wall, there's these 3 stone heads where their mouths are open, the water agape, and the water's flowing out and filling up the pool. And the players will look down; they'll see the pool, and they can see down through the water that something's clogged it, right? It should be draining, but it's not. And so the room is flooded. It's flooded out into the hallway. The door's kind of swollen shut. It's going to be probably difficult to get through that door. Now, if the characters do an Arcana check, this is a room that can be a character's godsend, a reprieve. This is magical waters, and should the characters drink this water, they're going to restore 2d8 hit points, restore 100% of any exhaustion that they have suffered. It's going to cure any diseases that they have. Now, this only happens once per day, because once they absorb this magical water, it permeates their body, and it takes about a day, 24 hours for it to fade away before they can drink it again and get that effects. So what you're seeing here, what the players characters are seeing, is remnants of these elves, these dusk elves who are paying homage, hundreds and hundreds of years ago to the Shadow Fae in this ancient temple, still had some elven ways. They had this beautiful fountain that gave them life and cured disease. They built this tree of life that they probably worshipped and prayed to. All of them, the tree is warning them, you're getting fooled. But it couldn't convince them through the Shadow Fae's seductive ways. So coming here, this is a nice reprieve. If the characters have suffered exhaustion, suffered any hit point damage, they can recover some here. You might even want to have a short rest in here. It's a safe room. However, again, as I mentioned before, encounters are triggered. So if they investigate and try to figure out what's clogging this pool, or they go down and try to remove this clog or screw with this in any way, they're going to uncover this creature. And this is another nasty from the Underdark. Let's take a look at this thing, because this thing is just really ugly looking. This is a gibbering mouther. It's down there at the bottom of the pool, down in the drain. It's probably ignored the characters. It's just down there in its own world. It has no idea. Would never expect any adventurers in here. It's been living here probably for who knows how long. So adventurers stepping in here would just be kind of a surprise it's even there. So if you go down there and you're messing with the drain, this thing's going to come up and attack you. Now, if you're not familiar with the gibbering mouther, this creature has 67 hit points, has a nasty bite, 5d6 piercing bite on there. You need a 19th strength saving throw, otherwise you'll be knocked prone. It swims 10 feet, doesn't move very fast, but you're in water, probably up to your waist. It'll probably be difficult terrain. It does a multi-attack. The problem with it has 2 things. It has this thing where everything around it is going to be like this difficult terrain. So, and you must succeed a DC 10 saving throw, or your speed is reduced to 0 until the start of the next turn. So it doesn't need to move much. And if you get caught in this pool and your speed is moved to 0, it's got this blinding spittle on a recharge, so it could blind you, and it starts biting you. I mean, this is just nasty. And it's got this gibbering feature too, which is just, the mouths on it starts gibbering incoherently, causing all kinds of crazy crap to happen to you. So it's not, it's just only a CR2 creature, but this thing can cause havoc when you're trying to heal up, right? And that's the whole thing, is you would trigger this thing. If you stay in this room, drink the water, hang out in here, ignore it, it's not going to mess with you. It doesn't care. You go down there and you start poking it, well, you're going to have a problem. All right, let's move on. We've done this side, we've done the east side. We've got the crystals. We've visited the tree. We've healed up, got rid of our exhaustion. We're jumping across here, and we're heading over to the west side. And we're going to head down to the south part of the west side. In the south part, which the characters may have discovered if they came through the way of those spiders, is this room right here. And again, we've got the DM Andy's gorgeous map where we're underneath some of the spider webs here. You can see it's really cool how that's done here in Foundry. And this is kind of a priest chambers, a priest resting room, a priest sanctum here. Again, we have a theater of the mind map here. The characters are going to come in here, and this room here, its chamber is kind of lies in chaos, cracked floor, decaying remnants, scattered furnishing strewed about. The rear wall, there's a cave-in that opens up into that area where the spider lair is. So this is another entrance in. So if you went left and through that spider chamber, you'd be coming in to this kind of priest sanctum or priest sanctuary. Now, if you look around, a closer inspection, you're going to realize this is probably a resting room for a priest or a sanctum or a robe changing room or some guardian's room in here based on what you're looking around the room, but it's covered in spiderwebs, pretty nasty. But as you're in this room, you're going to notice you can start hearing these whispers, echoes from the past, and this is what you hear. Let me go ahead and do this for you. So if you're standing in this room, this is what transpires.
The Shadow Gate must be destroyed. Its very existence a menace to all within this realm. Let not her enchantments deceive you, for she shall taint your thoughts and visions, much as she did mine. She is not who she appears. Demolish the gate, or our world will fade into oblivion. Fulfill what I, in my failure, could not.
So in this case, similar to the tree warning you, you have a ghost or a spirit of a priest here who is warning you, who has been deceived by the Night Fae, who's actually the Shadow Fae. He wasn't able to stop her, and he, too, now this is the second warning, to destroy this Shadow Gate. It's a menace to this realm. There's a Shadow Gate that you're going to have to find. That's on the 3rd floor. You got to get to it to destroy it. So both the tree is giving a warning that the elves have all but a fading memory. Here's a memory, a whisper of one of the elf priests telling you the Shadow Gate must be destroyed. Don't let her deceive you. Do not let her invade or taint your thoughts. Ignore her. You know, she's already, you went to her statue and she's trying to get you to step in the water, literally dissolve into acid, and your spirit get trapped into her essence, right? I mean, this is a very wicked Shadow Fae creature that's bringing darkness and horror into the world. So this is the second warning. Now, if we travel, we're in the pillar and we move up to the center room here on the west side, we get into the library. There's books all over the floor. Again, we have a theater of the mind map here. And what's interesting about this particular room that we're going to talk about here is, you know, it was once some kind of library, but the books are just kind of rotten. Most of them are torn asunder. There's covers and pieces of paper and old parchments. There's only one book that has remained intact, and that is the Ancient Shadow Tomb, which is a mythical poem. Now, this is a player handout available in PDF for free on our Ko-fi shop. I'll put a link in the description below. It's also included built into the Foundry Adventure module. I'll open it here. You can see the text here as well, but here it is in PDF form. I'll just make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And it's really short. It's only 4 stanzas, and I'll read it to you. Now, this book is important because, again, it warns you about the Underdark, but it gives you the clue of what to do with these crystals and what order to put these crystals in to open up this teleportation so you can move on to the Shadow Gate. So it reads this, and it shows you that gibbering mouth creature here. From the Underdark's abyss to the realms of man, a passage forged by nature's hand. So this whole place has been made, this temple, you know, there's a fissure to the Shadow Realm and to the Underdark, and the Shadow Fae took on the form of the Night Fae and fooled the elves into building this temple to her. So this passage has been formed by nature's hand, the gateway then expanded upon by the elves. Within its depths, the horrors sleep, unfathomable monsters in darkness keep. So down in the abyss, that's the Underdark. And there's a bunch of creatures in there that we don't want to wake up. They're sleeping. Now there's a picture here of this Armillary Sphere, which we'll see later. Awakened nightmares with a twisted gate. Crystals misplaced, a destined fate. So if you misplace these crystals, you're going to be waking some nightmares up. Out of order, their essence lost. A twisted dream, a chilling cost. So it's telling you it's going to be a bad, bad day if you put these crystals in the wrong order. So what order do you put them in? Here's the crystals here. In skies of vibrant artistries, colors gleam from crimson red to violet's dream. So you know it's going to start with red, it's going to end with violet. 7 hues and arcs we see, in nature's bow a mystery be. Well, that's a huge clue right there. 7 arcs we see, 7 arcs. That's the rainbow. Nature's bow, that's the rainbow. So if we put them in rainbow order from red to violet, that'll be the correct order. And next says, a bridge of light to a shadow gate where mysteries linger and secrets wait. So we see that stone pillar where the abyss was, and we see like a light in this book, like a light shooting up. So a bridge of light, there's some kind of light bridge that's created that takes us to the shadow gate, which we've heard about now. We've read about it in the pillars. We've heard the warnings from the priest whispers. We've heard the warnings from the tree. And it says, through the shimmering rifts, a realm unknown, journeying to shadows, a path is shown. And the last one actually shows us a shadow gate, the ancient tale in whispers old of abyss secrets and powers untold. Through crystal's prison, the truth appears, a journey awaits beyond mortal fears. So this is telling you, there's some kind of light bridge. You got to put some crystals in orders of the rainbow. It'll create a light bridge, and it'll take you to the shadow gate. So this book is very important. Again, it's a riddle. It's a puzzle. The players are going to have to find those crystals, find this book. They're going to probably hear the warnings of both of these things, and they're going to have to figure out where we're going to put these crystals. All right. So the next place is where you're going to put the crystals, and that's right up here. So right in here, we have this Armillary Sphere, huge sphere in this room. And there's some old, looks like weeds, withered vines that have kind of wrapped themselves up, and it'll keep this thing from moving in there. Again, gorgeous map by Diamandi. You can actually walk under the vines and walk under the sphere here. Again, we have a theater of the mind map here of this thing. Here it is. Let's read about it as well, because there's some important information here. So when you enter this room, you're going to gaze upon this giant Armillary Sphere, this giant, huge device, right? It's positioned in the center of the room. The ancient device stands as a testament to the passage of time. It's kind of aged, it's kind of patinaed a little bit. And there's these old-looking vines that have extended and kind of intertwined in the sphere. It looks like it's kind of caught in the sphere. Your attention notices the 7 vacant sockets around the base. So in the base here, there's these sockets in which you're going to place these crystals in the base. You also realize that this contraption, for it to actually work, you're going to have to, take these dead vines out of it. Now, here's some interesting factors about these vines. They're not vines at all. These are the old tendrils of an old roper from centuries ago that tried to stop, and did probably succeeded stopping this sphere from spinning. And these tendrils are dead. They look like withered vines. Perhaps if a player does an investigation check, they would realize, or a nature's check, these aren't vines. These are some kind of tentacles. They're long since dead and withered, and they pose no threat. They're just like something kind of tried to grab on the sphere and stop it from centuries ago. They maybe pick them up and they kind of turn to dust or something like that. Now, the empty sockets require those 7 crystals to be put in rainbow order. That order is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That's the order, from red to violet. You put them in the correct order, this thing starts spinning up. Now, if you happen to put them in the wrong order in there, one out of place, you're going to wake up the roper. And the roper in this room is, again, I changed the look of it. I wanted to give it kind of this nasty looking kind of H.R. Geiger, H.P. or Lovecraft look. Here we go. Here's what it looks like. I mean, it's just like, if you've seen this thing. So it's in hibernation. It's against the wall. You know, it's just kind of slipping against the wall. And so if you start this thing up with the wrong crystals, it doesn't know that, you know, those old tendrils of it, it's long died. It's gone into hibernation. It's probably been in hibernation for centuries, right? This thing starts churning or starting up, and you put the crystals in the wrong. You've woken this up. You're in a combat encounter with a roper. Now, these ropers are nasty. 93 hit points, 93 to 100 hit points. It's got these tendril attacks. It doesn't move very fast, but it's got a 50-foot reach with these tendrils. It can reel itself in. It's got the grasping tendrils. It does a multi-attack. The bite is bad. This is a 48 plus 4 plus 7 to hit. Multiple attacks with this thing. I mean, it can really mess with you guys for a long time, and you're going to get this thing going. Now, if you do put this thing in order, if you fire this thing up, this is what happens. You hit the start button here. Let me get rid of this roper. Hear this noise. It starts spinning up. And the roper will wake if you get the crystals right, but the energy from this thing will burn it. We'll just fry it and kill it. And it kind of gives you a clue. You know, those tendrils on it were dead. So this probably thing was trying to stop it. It did manage to get its tendrils in there and stop it, but those tendrils probably burned up and fried, and the roper went into hibernation. So if you do get it right, it'll fry, the roper will wake. You'll see the roper, but it'll start to just fry and turn to ash. And that leads us to the conclusion. You've managed to turn on the transportation device here in the Rostrum in the main room. So let's go back to the main room. That's this area here. So as you're making it across here, the teleportation device is turned on. But what happens is it has woken up the creatures of the Underdark, and you've got all these creatures that are going to wake up and start coming up from the Underdark. And what we have here is we've got some ropers and some gricks. Now, again, this is some different artwork for the hooked horse. We got hooked horse. Sorry, let me show you the hooked horse here. Pretty nasty looking. And it's climbing up with its hooks. Coming up the side really fast. Just climbing up the side there. Because the energy of this sphere spinning, turning on this transportation light bridge, has woken up these creatures from the Underdark. They're going to come up there. It's just, you know, and they're going to attack anything. Now you also have got these gricks. Check out these things. These things are just nasty. They're kind of like worming their way up the side. So you got these gricks and these hooked horrors. Now the way I would run this, and I've got some information here, is the characters are going to be most likely coming from the west side, crossing this bridge. I would start this encounter with like this. I would start the encounter probably with one hook whore at the end of the bridge and two gricks that have just come up on either side. The rest of them, I would keep them invisible, and they would join the fight at the start of the second round. Now, you can decide how many gricks and hook whores you want to put in here. It's up to you based on your party level and your party size. I also have it random, 1d4 for hook whores, 2d4 for gricks. It's how you want to run it, but I would definitely have some waiting at the bridge here, so when the players come out, they've got to face off against this. I've also set this up in the Theater of the Mind. Let's take a look at that here. So you hit start here, and there you go. You've got that light bridge in the center. Hook whores are climbed up the side. You've got those gricks here that are ready to attack the players. The hook whores are pretty mean. If you get 2 or 3 of these, you're 75 hit points each. CR level 3, 2 attacks with those hooks. Those are 2d6 plus 4. Piercing damage, pretty nasty. The gricks are pretty nasty. They're not as powerful, so you want to have... This is an attrition battle, so also an action economy. I'd have at least 2, perhaps even 4 gricks in here. They've got those tentacles, 5-foot reach with slashing damage, multiple attack with their beaks. They're kind of worming up the side. This energy is just pulling them up. It's annoying them. I imagine this noise is annoying. That's probably why the roper stopped the sphere, right, to stop this beam of light going. waking up these creatures and coming up the side and going to be attacking the players. So it's not a big bad evil fight. It's just the players are trying to rush to jump into this light bridge to transport themselves to the next level, and they've got to fight their way through some hook horizons through these gricks. And that's it. That takes them to the final. That's the final level here. So we don't have a big bad evil guy. We've got some problem solving, some environmental challenges. We got some triggering of some events, several different warnings, a book to find, getting that teleportation turned on so they can teleport to the third level, which is the Shadow Gate. That's the final level, right beneath Castle Ravenloft. I really hope you liked this video. Make sure you smash that like button. Click subscribe if you are interested in supporting me in this content, getting access to the Foundry Adventure modules or access to additional content that I make, and think about becoming a member. We also include a lot of free PDF guides for the entire community for all of this content. You can find that on my website. There's a link to the website below. Until next time, may all your rolls be critically successful. And thank you, legendary supporters.